When talking about the best NES games of all time, Mega Man 2 almost always is one of the first mentioned. In fact, Mega Man 2 frequently is listed among the best games ever made. It took the first Mega Man, a popular game that had some room for some polish, and did just that. Dr. Wily's Stage 1 theme, the Metal Blades being the original overpowered power-up, laser beams in Quickman's level, so many more memorable moments from Mega Man 2. Mega Man 3 continued this trend and got plenty of praise at release and continues to be loved by retro gamers today. It gave us the power slide, had some cool power-ups and boss fights, some throwbacks to Mega Man 1 and 2, all while progressing the series' gameplay forward. It was a great game as well. While the majority don't think 3 is the best of the 6 NES Mega Mans, there is a fairly vocal group who does think it's better than 2. But what about the later Mega Mans? Mega Man 4 is when the series started to go downhill according to some. The Mega Buster, some described uninspired level designs, power-ups, the laughable attempts to have new main villains like Dr. Cossack or Proto Man before the real villain is still Dr. Wily. Don't even get me started on Mega Man 6's Mr. X, I think Capcom was just joking around at that point. But are the later trilogy of NES games really that bad? I wanted to shed some light on these three, and if they are not getting the respect that they deserve. Will I put them on the same level as Mega Man 2 or 3, or even 1 for being the original of the series? Probably not, but let's see. Mega Man 4 is probably most known for being the first with the Mega Buster charge shot. This was easily the biggest change the series saw on the NES. When I was playing these games for the first time in the early to mid 90s, I loved the charge shot, at least once you learned to drain out the noise it made while you were holding the charge. As I've aged, I have realized it did no question simplify the Mega Man games, and probably enabled lazier game design as a whole. When I talk about it on message boards or with friends, most do seem to agree on how the charge shot affected Mega Man. Specifically to Mega Man 4, one thing I did not like about the charge shot was that when you got hit, your charge did not go away. I thought this actually caused more of a decline in difficulty than just the inclusion of the charge shot. But Mega Man 4 does have some strengths. First, I do think the graphics, primarily in the backgrounds of levels, saw more color in action. Mega Man 2 and 3 tended to have a bit more 1 or 2 color backgrounds of levels. Airman, Crashman, some of the Wily stages in Mega Man 2 come to mind. In Mega Man 3, Magnet Man, Needle Man, Top Man, and a few more. Now I think this is a minor improvement, and I probably overstated the improvement in backgrounds, but I always thought Mega Man 4 did see a bit more color to the game. Mega Man 4 does have some gameplay improvements as well. First, it added a couple of hidden items in the wire and balloon. Both items have some situational use in the levels, but the rush coil and jet still exist and serve pretty much the same purpose. These items did create the need to explore a little bit more in each level to find them, as in the prior games, old items were given to you just by beating Robot Masters. If you have a bit of a completionist mentality like I do, finding these items in the first go-around might be a fun addition. I also thought Mega Man 4 added a few optional parts to each level, usually to reward the user with an E-Tank or an extra life. Skullman had a skippable section of his level where you dodge these shield attackers for an extra E-Tank. Brightman's level had a section of platform riding where at the end you were rewarded with an E-Tank as well. Small things that I thought Mega Man 4 probably could have done a bit more of, but still were a decent addition to the first 3 games did not have. Mega Man 4's biggest weakness isn't so much the aforementioned Charge Buster addition, but how the level design focused a lot on that aspect. Mega Man 4 has more longer hallways that you can just slide or charge shot through. For boss fights, it's frequently in your best interest just to use the charge shot as well. Which leads me to another complaint with Mega Man 4. The boss weaknesses are just forgettable. Dustman's weakness is Ringman's weapon, but Dustman becomes insanely easy just by keeping your distance and using the Mega Buster, instead of using a more limited range Ringman's weapon. Drillman being weak to the dive missile is also pretty forgettable, since Drillman is a slower robot master that you can just again use the charge shot. I thought Brightman's Flash Stopper being used against Pharaoh Man's was a good idea, but the advantage it gave was pretty overpowered. I guess the Flash Stopper's insane power against Pharaoh Man does give you a reason to use it though. Some of the more utility weapons deserve some love though. Toadman's Rain Flush got its fair share of use in the levels. The Flash Stopper got use not just against Pharaoh Man as well. I thought the Pharaoh Shot would have been better suited in Mega Man 3 to be honest, as its concept is similar to the charged Mega Buster, but it can be used to protect Mega Man's head, so I guess there's some usability there. Mega Man 5, the middle brother in these Charge Buster NES games, I thought was a bit of a bounce back to focusing on level design and platforming. Again, the color palette used in Mega Man 5 was diverse, and I thought the settings of each level were fun to look at as well. But Mega Man 5's biggest strength is in fact its Robot Master level design. No two levels felt the same to me. Some levels had a little bit of similarities to past Mega Man games. Crystal Man came to mind here, at least aesthetically. But overall I thought the level design was top notch. I'd say the closest to feeling kind of redundant in Mega Man 5 would be Starman and Gravity Man stages, but that was mostly due to each level's gimmick, and there was enough uniqueness between the two to give it a fair pass. Each Robot Master's levels also contained one letter or number in the word Mega Man 5, which if you collect all 8 pieces you'd receive Beat, who is a loyal robot bird. He doesn't really offer a ton to gameplay in my opinion, but finding him was a decent, fun, optional part of the game. I preferred Mega Man 4's hidden items and also how Mega Man 4 had some optional sections of levels to reward you with an extra E-Tank or life, but this was fun as well. Aside from Stone Man stage, I can't think of too much hidden items in Mega Man 5, at least on the level of Mega Man 4, but it was present somewhat in Stone Man stage. Mega Man 5's difficulty was a bit harder compared to 4 to me. The Mega Buster now loses its charge when hit, but it does do a sizable more amount of damage, and is a fair bit wider. I'm not sure if the Mega Buster's change was designed to make the game easier or harder, but I thought the level design was where the difficulty saw some increase. Napalm Man's stage gave me some troubles, as did Crystal Man's timed jumps. I also thought Proto Man's levels were a bit tougher than Mega Man 4's counterpart Dr. Cossack. On the other hand, it did seem the drop rates for both health and extra lives were a fair bit higher in Mega Man 5, so maybe there is some debate between 4 and 5's difficulty. The biggest flaw in Mega Man 5 though to me is the forgettable power-ups. The previously mentioned difficulty in Crystal Man's stage can be avoided with Starman's shield, but other than that I can't really think of any power-up being of major use. Gravity Hold was a fun power-up, but never really needed. The charge kick was a good idea to increase the damage of the kick introduced in Mega Man 3, but again, not very important. I had a little bit of fun with Gyro Man and Napalm Man's weapons, but they weren't very memorable. Last part of this video is Mega Man 6. I actually have a lot of nostalgia for this game, as Mega Man 2, 4, and 6 were the games my brother and I owned as kids. The even number ones, the San Francisco Giants of game owning, I guess, if anyone gets that sports reference. We rented 3 and 5 a few times, but never owned them outright. A lot of people didn't even know Mega Man 6 even existed until the internet took off. In fact, for US audiences, Capcom didn't even publish the game, Nintendo did. But Mega Man 6 added a few interesting things to the classic style, and I think deserves some credit. First, Mega Man 6 had 2 suits that you charged up or recharged their power towards, the Power Suit and the Jetpack. The Power Suit had a semi-powerful but short-ranged attack, but I'll admit is by far the lesser of the two when it comes to using it for fun. The Jetpack, however, arguably changed Mega Man 6 entirely. Instead of using the Charge Buster everywhere and the occasional spam of maybe the Silver Tomahawk, using the Jetpack to fly around allowed Mega Man 6 to have some more interesting platform designs for some of its levels. I do wish Mega Man 6 had even more level designs around these 2 add-ons, but what was given was entertaining enough, especially in the Mr. X and Dr. Wily levels, which is where I think Mega Man 6 shines and is pretty close to Mega Man 2 and 3's standard. As a side note, if you're playing on the Anniversary Collection, which allows quick cycling through Mega Man's weapons, the Power Suit and the Jetpack are much more usable because you don't have to watch this short but tedious animation every time you switch to them, which you will have to do if you're playing the NES version of the game. Mega Man 6 also had 4 Robot Master stages with fake endings, but this I thought was poorly done and could have been a bit better. What they did was near the end of these 4 masters basically show a stage panel that told the player, if you need a special item to go through the door or to reach the door, this is the correct boss. A cool idea, but poorly implemented. I guess for a 1994 NES game, I'll take what I can get, but really not that important to the game. To me, Mega Man 6's biggest strength is also its biggest weakness, and that is it is by far the easiest of the 6 NES Mega Mans. 4 and 5 were easier than 1, 2, and 3 by a fair bit due to the Mega Buster being implemented, but 6 had some really easy Robot Master patterns to pick up on, a fun but somewhat broken Jetpack edition, and most importantly, some easier Mr. X and Dr. Wily bosses. If you want a challenge, Mega Man 6 is my choice for the worst, but if you want an easier Mega Man game or one that might be the most fun to speedrun, Mega Man 6 is probably the best choice. To summarize this video, Mega Man 4, 5, and 6 deserve a bit more credit than they get. People say 2 and 3 are not just among the best NES games, but some of the best ever made, and rightfully so. While I agree that 4, 5, and 6 weren't quite on that level, they each offered some fun aspects to the series that were perfectly fine for their installments. 4 offered some hidden items and also had some dead-end aspects to the levels, which would reward you with an E-Tank or an extra life if you complete them. Mega Man 5 had some really unique Robot Master levels for both the aesthetics and the gameplay. Mega Man 6's jetpack was really overpowered, but extremely fun to use and allowed some originality in the platforming. I actually think if Capcom decided to really showcase these changes a lot more in their respective games instead of the more minimal amount we got, 4, 5, and 6 could have been pretty much as good as 2 and 3. Yes, some of the new weapons were poorly designed, and I still question the Mega Buster edition as a whole, but the question I ask is, if 2 and 3 are as good as we all agree on, does the formula change enough to warrant these 10 out of 10 reviews for 2 and 3 to the wide range as low as 4s and 5s to maybe a low 8 or a high 6 or low 7 that 4, 5, and 6 sometimes receive from both professional websites and fan reviews? Let me know what you think. Please feel free to follow me or check me out on Twitch, and I hope to have some more videos for you. Take care.